Hello and welcome to the Analyser. We're back at Caulfield this Saturday. The Bellis 3 Stakes is the feature, and joining me as always is Dave Strehlau. And Dave, I know you're pretty keen to get into this program.
Yeah, I am. It might be a heavy track, but what you do is you just find the horses that like heavy tracks, and that's what we've done for Saturday. And I don't think that heavy eight's going to improve all that much. It's not drying conditions, it's cold, it's damp.
And there is a shower or two potentially forecast during the race day. Whether we get those or not, if you got a couple, you could be on a 10.
Potentially later in the program. I expect this to just be a classic rail true where as the meeting goes on, they'll just get further and further off the fence. They have protected that inside section for the last few meetings, but the last time the rail was true was at William Reid Day, and they just wanted nothing to do with it as well. So I don't think it'll be an issue being closer to the fence early in the program, but the more they get into it, the more they'll get off the fence.
Okay, so we've got 9 races on a heavy track at Caulfield this Saturday, and the first race is for the 2-year-olds. And Carnival's been very easy in the market. Interestingly enough, it was accepted for a race worth significantly less money at Pakenham, was a bigger price in the market. There's been a good go for Crank with Ladbrokes, 440 into 310. Carnival's gone the other way. Good support for Obambulate, 8 into $5, with Star of Macedon Spec 11 into 9. So pretty open contest for the 2-year-olds to start things off. Let's go with the original favourite, Carnival, as our replay we're going to have a look at here, Taven. It's jumped out here really nicely. Probably just went up way too short. But this jump out, for a little bit of context, the horse that's alongside Stars of Dom, who was one of the better runs of the day there at Sandown last week.
Yeah, it was. Ripped home, huge close. It was early in the day, but some of the fastest closing fractions of the day. And I thought to the Isle, Carnival actually outworked that horse as well. So that's a pretty good guide. And it's got some race day experience. Started $3.80, went 4th in a Maribyrnong plate. Look, there was a gap to 3rd, but there was also a gap back to 5th. You're always going to be better for that first preparation and being given some time. That's the way I've lent in the race. This is a race I didn't have much interest in. I think Craig can run well. Got that heavy track experience, had a quiet trial between runs. Autumn Rainbow's actually jumped out okay, as has Momentum. But 2-year-olds, lightly raced, some of them on debut, testing conditions. Let's watch the first.
I think it's a good race to just stay out and watch. Yeah, not one that I had a lot of confidence with. I'm leaning away over Bambulate just because it's got race experience, race fitness. It's seen a soft track. It looks like it's going to be fit and strong at the 1200. Carnival is an obvious leading contender. Star of Macedon was great on debut. Wide No Cover kept coming. And I'm like you, I do think Autumn Rainbow jumped out really nicely. Just done over 1200 on wet ground is going to be ideal for it. As we get a market with Ladbrokes for the 2nd of 9. How about this for a go? Probably the best back runner on the entire program at Caulfield, Swift Force in early betting. $1.85, better than even money was available at one stage, into $1.55. Zunna's at 9, Sunsetting $9.50 has attracted some support, and then it's Sea Poem at $14. So market's basically got this one-way traffic. And let's have a look why. It was a performance at Caulfield a couple of weeks ago from Swift Force where, gee, she was impressive.
She's a Magnus filly, and this was the worst rated track she'd seen so far in her career, a soft 7. She goes to the front, she leads fast. Against fitter horses, this was her first run, no trial or jump out since late February. And she just runs them into the ground. Actuality was hard fit. She subsequently dropped back to 1,000 metres last week at Sandown, run 4th against the boys. And just have a look how soft this is on the line as well. She has a lot more to give if she was going to be challenged. James Johnson now claims down 3 kilos, so she stays same grade, but keeps the same weight. And because of that claim, she actually meets Sunsetting better at the weights, who was flashing home into 4th. I know she's $1.55, but every time she's raced, she keeps improving her rating. She's the sole leader in the race from barrier 1, and she's just on an upwards trajectory. The only time she's lost, she led and was beaten by Perspiration, who goes around in last and is actually a good horse. So, look, she is $1.85 in. I would have preferred that price for the Analyser. But people that watch the Analyser religiously will know that we don't often shop in these areas, but I've had $50 to win on her because I honestly... I don't know what beats her. Sea Poem can go all right. First up's jumped out okay. Luna Cat's fit. Fly better for the run last start. But this is all about the favourite.
If she's beaten, it's because she rates down, isn't it? She doesn't hold her form. And I've got her clearly on top. Not with enough confidence to want to have a bet at that price, but I didn't want to be tipping against her. I think it's a map, everything in her favour. I thought Sunsetting was maybe the biggest danger if there was to be one. But Dave, very keen on the chances there of Swift Force in race 2 at Caulfield as we get a market for the third. This is an interesting race to talk about. Yes, Yoshi, 1,400 metres, 550 into 480. Belmez Yarn has been 550 to $5. Clever Trevor, 6 into 5. Kingsbury rock solid at 850. And Cincherato, 14 into $9. So there's quite a few firmed up in the betting in the early prices. Let's have a look at a couple of replays here. We'll start with Belmez Yarn, who's rock solid around that $5 mark. I thought this was a good performance at Bendigo. We've had Wise In-Law come out of this race, go to Flemington and win, dropping back in distance. And Belmez Yarn was scratched from a 1,600 metre contest at Sandown last week, which I think, Dave, is a smart move. I just wasn't sure about the 1,600 for this horse.
Yep, Maldini's come through this race and won again as well. So this has to be the Premier Form reference, doesn't it? And look, he does get to cut the corner and save all the ground, but I think by this stage of the day, right up against the fence wasn't the absolute A ground. He sticks on pretty good to the line. It's hard to tip against him. It's a race that's hard to get involved in with the conditions, but it wouldn't surprise if he's right in the finish.
Yeah, I think he's one of the logical leading contenders in a very even contest. Another one of them might be Clever Trevor. Now, he's coming through very different form lines. He was well supported first up off a nice trial. He had strong starting prices and strong ratings relative to the class in his previous preparation. He gets the job done for the punters first up. You'd think he's only going to come on for it. He's never seen wet ground. He's up in class. But look, it wouldn't shock me at all if he handled the rising grade and won. How do you say it?
Yeah, having not seen the wet ground, it's hard to get involved. If it was a dry tracker, I'd probably back him because I think he just follows across.
There's no science to it, but has there ever been a horse from that stable not like wet?
That is a very good call. But I think he follows across undisputable, sits outside the leader, and I don't see a great deal of speed here. He's a horse that looks suited at 1,400 metres. He's got Asakura form last preparation. He's a good horse, but I just don't know about the conditions, so I can't get involved from Belmez. And Kingsbury gets the blinkers on. I thought that he's actually okay at Sale last start. And Celtics is a horse that has been beaten by Purple Streak on a wet track in the past, but then turn the tables on Purple Streak. I know he's not in this race, but he was unlucky at Flemington last start and held up and strong through the line. Maybe he's looking for 14.
Yeah, I found this race impossibly hard. Belmez Yarn, I think, comes out of the strongest race. Clever Trevor might be the most progressive. Not sure about heavy for either of them. Cincherato might be the best wet tracker in the race. He won a weaker race at Warrnambool last time out, but I think he's always wanted wet ground, so he gets it again. And yes, Yoshi's good enough. I just got no idea about 1,400 metres for him. And he doesn't look like a 1,400 metre horse to me. We'll head to a break on the Analyser. On the other side, some races we're very keen to bet into. We'll preview races 4 to 6 at Caulfield. Welcome back to the Analyser. Time now to get a market for race 4 at Caulfield this Saturday, where First Chorus has firmed right in. Now, there are significant deductions coming out for the scratching of Medea, but she had been firming up in the market prior to that scratching. Jazz Affairs on the second line of betting with She's Impeccable at $7.50. You've got a Diva at $8, Enna's Dream $8.50, and Araqua at $12. And it is a race that First Chorus really dominates the market now that we've had a couple of others scratch. So let's have a look at the replay of what she was able to do. This was the previous first up run, Dave, and my little concern going into this was the fact that she was first up in testing conditions, and she absolutely brained it.
She was brilliant. She exploded in the fastest last 200 metres on a deteriorating track as the second last race on the program against some fitter horses. So these conditions are really going to suit her. She was good second up at Caulfield. She got a wet track. It was against the boys, 1,600 metres. She was just nosed out. And then I can forgive last start at Flemington. It's the only time she's been on a good 3. And she was right up on speed in a race that ended up setting up for the swoopers. So let's put a line through that. Bit of a space between her runs, no issue, given what we saw her do first up. There's a few good bets on the program. She's one of them, $25 to win. From Jazz Affair, who I thought had some excuses working wide at Flemington last start. Not sure about barrier 1 for you. Belle Savoie was good first up. Plain last start. Adiva is back in distance, which should help on the wet track.
I think it should help Adiva getting back in distance. I'm very concerned about the wet ground for her, though. So First chorus, I made her the best on the program, actually. I just think that this is a really winnable race for her. Market absolutely loved her last time out. She had excuses like you touched on. The previous couple of runs, she's probably shorter than $2.15, so she gets her chance. I think Iraq was way over the odds relative to some of those other horses on the second and third line of betting. Fastest last 200 of the race, likes wet ground, up in distance, strips fitter. First chorus is a better horse than her, I think, but I'd have her second pick and I can back her 1/4. Basically a place bet with something in case she wins in the race. So that's how we're playing the fourth race on the program. So we're going to mark it now for race number 5. Been a big go here. New favourite, El Rocco, 550 into 320. And why wouldn't he be now that we're operating on a heavy 8? See That Storm, a fascinating runner, 320 to 330, having making his Australian debut. Oh Too Good keeps drifting. She's at 650. Cartoon Graveyard's the same price, and Verdad at $7.50. So market's basically got it a race in 5, but there is one horse in particular that I thought it was obvious. I was quite surprised he went up $5.56 on Wednesday. This boy, El Rocco. Cartoon Graveyard comes through the same race that they tackled a couple of starts ago. Since this run, Dave, he's gone to Sandown. If you want to find when you've got a heavy track, you want to find horses with wet track form that are hard fit. He just ticks every box, doesn't he?
I was shocked and appalled by his early price, Ben, and it's no surprise.
Well, he's
favourite.
massively overpriced on wet tracks all the time.
He loves Caulfield as well, and he's been looking for 1,600
hasn't he?
Because at 1,600 metres, he gets milers and 2,000-metre horses out of their comfort zone, and he can ramp it up from the 600 metres and make it a test.
And he can do that without having to go quite as hard.
Exactly right. At 1,400 metres, they keep up with him. Last night at Sandown, they worked him over to find the front. He did a lot of work, and he was there to the 100.
And then still went.
Yeah, it was a good performance. Now he backs up 7 days. He should be the favourite in the race.
Control it, can't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's have a look at another replay here in Oh Too Good, who... Look, I thought this was really encouraging that she could be back to maybe not her best, but something like it. She was beaten by an in-form horse here. Verdad also came through this race. She's never seen anything like heavy ground, but the softest track she did see was a soft 6, and it was a career peak performance. So that would give you some hope that she might get through it and might appreciate it. And if she does, then I think she's probably a big danger to El Rocco.
It was an encouraging run to say she's on the way to being back near her best, but still question marks as if she's on her way to being at her best.
Correct.
She had the back of Lady Jones then, who faced the breeze on a day at Flemington where you didn't want to face the breeze. They went really slow as well, so I thought she got things to suit. That said, I think she's in the mix if she runs to her best. She's just got to get there. El Rocco, he's a standout. Look, he's almost halved in price, but I've had $30 to win. Strong bet on him from Oh Too Good, Cartoon Graveyard, Jimmy the Bear. Just want to touch on See That Storm.
He's an interesting horse. He's come clear favourite for 3 days of betting.
All overseas runs, either synthetic or good tracks. 2 jump outs. I know it was the first jump out, but it was on soft ground, and to my eye, he didn't like it. A testing 1,600 metres on Australian debut of 40 weeks as favourite. Leave me out of that.
Yeah, when all your form's beyond 2,000 metres. And look, he might just be better than them. He might brain them. He might come away and we say, well, that's the best horse to run at that meeting. But at that price, I do not want to find out. So, yeah, El Rocco, I've made him one of the better bets on the program. I think Oh Too Good might be getting back to her best, queer in the conditions, but I think she's the main danger. See That Storm? Look, as I said, might brain them, but at that price, I don't want to find out. And Verdad would have been better on a firmer surface. As we get a market now for the 6th of 9 at Caulfield. And there's been a big go here. Semerg, $2.25 into $1.80. Skipper's Canyons at $7.50. Oceana Dreams, easy despite getting conditions he'll love. And then it's MacDane, Sly Boots, Brave Miss, Bold Strike in the market. Helen Rain unwanted off a good run last time out. Let's have a look at Semerg here, who did things really nicely, Dave, in the sense that first up, slow speed, shows a big turn of foot, rockets home some of the quickest closing splits of the meeting, then goes up to a fast run, 2,000 metres, and still finishes off. I think that's the sign of a pretty good horse.
Good versatility, isn't it? Fastest close of the day, that was first up. They ran really good time here. There is more depth on Saturday. He does look aggressive, but, you know, he's beaten Old Mayrack. Is it Bold Strike back into third? He was coming through some midweek races, Sunday races.
It's significantly stronger Saturday.
It was soft. It was a nice performance. We knew that he would have liked getting his toe into the ground that day at Caulfield from his overseas form. I have him as the one to beat. At 2.30, I could have had something on and made him a result in the race, but at $1.85, I stay out.
What about this horse, Sly Boots? They chose again their last time out. I thought they might go forward. They didn't. Maybe now that he's third up to 2,000 metres, it might be an option to roll forward and put him into a race.
I think they wanted to go forward last start. He jumped well. Froggy looked to the inside shoulder. He was looking to cross, but just so many kicked up that they had to slide back and try and find some cover. And then they didn't find any cover. And I thought he was still quite good, given the torrid run he had in transit, to run past a few that had softer runs and then stick on the line. Now he backs up 7 days. The last time he was on a heavy track over 2,000 metres, he led fast and he was beaten half a length to Metropolitan winner Royal Supremacy. So that's good form. Now he's on that quick backup. I can play him 1/3. Submerg, the one to beat. GoDaddy gets the blinkers on a big price, Skipper's Canyon. He's looking for 2,000 metres and probably them some.
Okay, so I can see the case you're making there, a nice price each way for Sly Boots. I thought Submerg deserves to be favourite. $1.80, like you said, ratings are one thing, but there just is a lot more depth to this race at that price. But I think Oceana Dream will relish the conditions, is looking for 2,000 metres now. Helen Rain goes right up in weights, but $27 is the wrong price. I think it should be half that, and Skipper's Canyon is a little bit of an enigma. That's a look at the first 6 races at Caulfield. On the other side of this break, we're going to come back with the last 3, and we're pretty keen to have a bet. Welcome back to the Analyser. Time now, thanks to Ladbrokes, to get a market for race 7. Good contest, this one. There's been a lot of support for High on the Hill, 60 to 440. Cabriole is at 550 and steady. Trey Magnifique at 6. Breda Moral's been very easy in early betting to 650. Quiet Points attracted some support, as has Rosberg, 950 into $7.50. He's back and he is gelded this time in. Let's start with Cabriole, a horse who might just be showing Rosberg what you can do when you lose your 2 best friends, Dave. He has gone to a new level this prep.
He has. Unlike Rosberg, though, he was actually racing well before he was gelded. He's got a placing to Autumn Boy next to his name in his first preparation. He's had 2 runs back. He was in first gear when he won at Geelong in good time. Then he controlled another slow tempo at Sale last start. It was a race where pretty much they were all finished where they settled in the run, but geez, he quickened really strongly.
They went so slow.
Yeah.
Like, some of the quickest splits of the day.
His last 600 was best of the day as well. So there's obviously a lot more depth here, but 2 from 2 gelded, he's hard to knock.
He is. This is a horse I think is easy to knock at the price in High on the Hill. I can't work out why he's so short. Now, I thought he was okay a couple of starts ago. He dropped back in grade. Maybe the market's thinking with the weight, given the conditions, he's well placed here. I thought he was way too short. I can't work out why he's so short. You look at him against a horse like Purple Streak, he was significantly shorter in the market. That horse was unlucky. Probably should have beaten him home, and now the prices are completely reversed.
There's a few horses in this race that are coming through races that haven't produced any form, so at least he's beaten home Snelly Gaster, who's won since. There's been 2 other winners through the race. He's had a quiet jump out at Cranbourne between runs, so I can see him running well if he handles the conditions. No bets for me. Cabriole on top from High on the Hill. Breda Mall, he's progressive. He's 2 from 2. He keeps running fast time. Wintry, one of those horses coming through a race at Warrnambool last start. 9 subsequent started, 0 placings, but did have to absorb a fast tempo and didn't find a spot for Rosberg because I think he's a bit of a myth.
Well, that myth is on top for me, and I can't recommend with good conscience that anybody else has money on him. But if, like me, you have backed him previous, I actually might be in front of him thanks to his debut. But if you've been on him his last 2 starts, I think around double figures, you need to have something small just for your own mental health now that he is gelded. Cabriole, look, he's a strong winning chance. No idea about the ground for Trey Magnifique, and Kennyworth will really appreciate the conditions on Saturday, but not a betting race, I don't think, unless you need something like me for your mental health on Rosberg. Let's go to race number 8 on the program, where Bustling's been well supported. Huge weight drop, 340 to 310. Recommendation 8 into 650 after double figures was bet. Bazaball rewarded 9 into 7. Watch me win 850 to 750. And then Gin Tonic's been easy with Here Comes the Star, 12 into $9. So Where are the drifters? There's one, Bellatrix Star, being very easy, 12 out to $20. So a couple of replays to look at. One of them is featuring the favourite in Bustling, but also the winner of the race in Bazaball Rewarded, who's been specced in early betting. This was 1,000. What do we make of the rise in grade and distance for Bazaball Rewarded, and what do you make of the price for Bustling?
The rise in distance for Bazaball Rewarded is against considering Bustling gets a rise in distance. He's going to be suited by that, and he's big and he's bad, and he gets 8 kilos off her as well. So this was an absolute pass mark if you've ever seen one. First up, moderate tempo, a bit of a dash home. He had a huge weight. He was first up for like two years.
Yep, it was a long spell.
So he's going to be a lot fitter for that. And also, he's had some foot issues, and he didn't mind to the eye there to get his toe into the ground on that soft 7, so maybe the conditions will suit.
Another replay to have a look at features a couple of the more classy individuals in this race. Watch Me Win, Recommendation were in this race. So Watch Me Win back and wide, Recommendation on the speed there in the pink colours, just blending in 3 wide, looking like he might win it at the top of the straight, but perhaps just gassing out. Of course, Watch Me Win's been to the Goodwood since, had his chance, ran okay.
It's not a huge negative being wide, no cover from the Morphettville shoot as well. And they were getting off the fence. So I think he had his chance, Recommendation. He was weakening late. But his first up run in the Discovery, he never found fencing run, was really good against the pattern. And he's been back to the jump out since on a heavy track and cruised around. Caulfield's his track, and he loves wet tracks. So through that, I think he can hold Watch Me Win. Not a great deal between them, but I've wanted to back Recommendation just because Caulfield, wet track, it's where he does his best work. Bustling, I've made a result in the race owing to that weight drop. And he's got great ratings. He's got class about him. He's not going to get to the level that they thought, but this looks his level now. Here comes the star in for 4th.
I can understand that. I found this race near impossible. I nearly put Recommendation on top, then swung to the way of Watch Me Win with that huge gap between wins for Recommendation. I just don't know if he's quite going as well, but there's a lot in his favour. If I got double figures, I'd make him a bet and put him on top like the price he went up. Bustling's in the mix, just very well found at the price. Just given the heavy conditions is my little query. And here comes the star. We'll appreciate the conditions, but she's going to be back. So found this one really, really tough. Let's get a market for the last of 9. I know this is one I'm really keen to bet into. I think Dave as well. Stolly Belly's your favourite, 5 into 480 dropping in grade. Perspiration really well backed, 9 into $6. Naval Academy 11 into $7.50. You've got Piastri 20 into $7.50. So there's deductions out of these prices, Dave, but still some good moves.
Yeah, we have had So You Pence, who went up favourite, come out of that market, but still some good early moves for some horses. Stolly Bolly as favourite, you'd have to forgive him from last start.
Yeah, so he probably hasn't moved that much in the market. Celsius Star has 18 to $9 with LEU at $9.50. Let's start with LEU, who's a $9.50 chance. We're looking at a replay we just did for Bustling and Bazaball Rewarded, and I think a little bit like Bustling. LEU's not a 1,000-metre horse. He just found them a bit sharp. He actually looms in like he was going to go right on and charge, and I think peaks on his run first up. 1,200, massive tick. Fitter for the run, huge tick. And the biggest tick of them all is the wet track. I think he's probably the best wet tracker in the race.
He is. He's desperate for it to be as wet as possible. And last race on the program, if that rain arrives and this is really testing, he's going to relish that. He is at his best when he can control things, but he has won races just in behind the speed, and that looks like his map today. He can certainly improve second up.
A couple more replays we're going to have a look at here, Dave. Starting with Naval Academy. There's a lot of boom around this horse, the way he's come back this time in. He's got a few decent efforts on wet tracks. What do you make of the trial and him being first up in testing conditions?
His trial at Horsham was excellent, and his lead-in work, it's pretty hard to ignore. Good time on the Heath track. That's Bianchelli, who's a 1,000-metre good track specialist to his inside, makes her look slow. Blethen, who's in 3rd in this trial, is up and going and fit. Geez, this is really nice work. Now, by this stage of the day, we might be saying, geez, he's drawn the wrong part of the track, but maybe if they're getting off the fence, he can cut the corner and get his chance. He'll run a race.
What about Perspiration? You said how keen you were earlier on in the program with Swift Force. This is the only horse, I think you said, to have beaten her before. How's he going?
He's going good. He's had a couple of trials. He doesn't really catch the eye from the trials, but he's trialled well enough. This is when he beat Swift Force and also Mazzini, who's a good horse over there, who was building a picket fence as well. Soft track conditions or wet track conditions, I think he'll really appreciate those. He won a race when he was with Kieran Maher, a Saturday Metro black type race as a 2-year-old when he got his toe into the ground as well. I think it might have been a rosebud. So I think he'll be performing really well on the weekend. And I want to make him a result. So You Pence has come out, which has sort of taken away a bit of the prices, but you know, $7.50, $9.56. You can still play the race 3 ways and get away with a pretty solid result if you're backing around Stolly Bolly, who you'd have to forgive from last start, who was below his best. So I'm playing those 3 horses. I think they'll all run well.
I think Stolly Bolly gets through all conditions. I just don't know if he's quite at his best on heavy ground. So I think he's in the mix. I'm keen on LOU, really keen. I think if I'm having one bet at Caulfield on Saturday, it'd be LOU on an each-way basis. I think $9.50 is the wrong price. I think he should be close to favourite in this race. So I'm going to back him 1/3. Stolly Bolly's in the mix. Perspiration's right in the mix. Naval Academy. But given the likely prevailing conditions, I'm pretty keen to be on LOU. How are we playing Saturday, Dave?
I know it's a heavy track, but I think there's money to be made and I'm keen to get involved. Race 2, Swift Force is the best on the program. We've staked her accordingly. First chorus is going to be hard to beat. El Rocco should have gone up favourite. Now he is. Sly Boots, keen to play him 1/3 to beat Submerg. Bustling and Recommendation in the feature. Recommendation loves Caulfield wet tracks, and closing out with 3 horses that like getting their toe into the ground in the last.
I like to see it, nice and aggressive. I'm with the wet trackers too. First chorus, I just think she's better than them. Iraq was over the odds. I think it should be second favourite at double figures. I'm going to back it on an each-way basis. El Rocco, the best wet tracker just about in the state. And if it's not him, it might be LOU, who I think is way over the odds in the last. That's a look at this week's Caulfield meeting here on The Analyser.